Hi there! On behalf of the International Welcome Center North, I'll be happily talking about one of the ways in which you can stay in the Netherlands after you graduate. And one of these ways, in this case, is to become an entrepreneur. I'll be talking in this presentation specifically about the Startup Visa program, which is a program where you can get a permit, if you need a permit, if you're a non-EU student, to stay in the Netherlands. But let me start by giving you some information about what is the Welcome Center, because you may not have heard of us as a student, because we mostly work with people, internationals, who have found a job in the Netherlands already and who then need help with their formalities, how to get their residence permit, or how to get their kids enrolled in an international school when they don't speak Dutch yet, stuff like that. So that's our primary service, but we also give a lot of information to any international living in the Northern Netherlands with whatever they need. So for graduates, it may be about the different types of permits that there are with which you can stay in the Netherlands. And we serve the Northern Netherlands specifically, so that's Groningen, Friesland, and Drenthe. In short, we exist to help you settle in, find success, and feel at home in the Northern Netherlands in all the aspects that are important there. So how can we help graduates? How can we help you? There's a number of services that we provide, and I think the overarching thing is kind of we give you the information that you need to really get into it and to really figure out what you want to do and how you want to stay in the Northern Netherlands. So, for instance, we can talk about extending your stay. What type of permits are there? There's a different presentation that we have about the zoekjaar, the search year permit. My colleague Tom tells you everything about what it is. And this presentation later on is going to be about the startup permit. So what are the requirements that you need to adhere to get that permit? What is behind it? You can also look at the project Make It in the North, which is the Welcome Center is one of the many partners behind this project, in which we want to bring together internationals and companies in the Northern Netherlands, because there's lots of companies that would love to hire you, and we know that it's hard for you to find the work where you don't need to speak Dutch, but there are actually a lot of companies where you don't need to speak Dutch. So check out that website, makeitinthenorth.nl, for those types of jobs. And finally, the Welcome Center really answers any question, can give advice, recommendations about anything that you need, from health insurance to having a social life and how to make friends. So it's great to check out the website IWCN.nl to find out more about that. So I mentioned two types of residence permits, but there's quite a lot of different residence permits. If after this presentation you're like, this is crazy, there's so much, I don't know what to do, you can go to our website. You can see the link, IWCN.nl, and you can also easily find it through the menu, where you have an overview of all the different residence permits if you want to do a little more reading about the differences. Okay, let's talk about why we're here, which is how to start your business in the Northern Netherlands. Maybe you've walked around with a business concept for ages, or you thought of something during your studies. Regardless, good news for you, because the Netherlands has a relatively new 1-year permit with which non-EU citizens can work on making their startup a success. So a whole year where you only focus on your startup. And this residence permit is also really meant for you to grow your business, to actually make your startup a success. But in order to qualify for the permit, you must follow a series of steps, including, for instance, working with a recognized startup facilitator. So we'll get into the different steps now, and also what a startup facilitator is. There are 4 steps that you need to take, or 4 requirements that you need before you can apply for the startup visa program. Step 1 is you need to have sufficient income for a whole year. We'll get into all of this in detail in a second. Step 2 is you need to have an innovative product or service. Step 3, you need to have a step-by-step solid business plan. And step 4 is finding a suitable facilitator to apply together with you for this permit. Step 1 is pretty straightforward, having sufficient income. A startup entrepreneur must have enough financial resources to be able to reside, so rent a place, live, so buy your groceries, pay for your health insurance, and enough money to set up a business in the Netherlands. So that means that maybe you need to rent an office space or a lab space, and maybe you need to invest in tools, whatever you need to make your startup a success. And it's important to realize that during that year on your startup residence permit, you're not allowed to rely on public funds or the welfare system. There's 2 ways in which you can prove that you actually have this money. Either you have it on a Dutch bank account or you have it on a foreign bank account, but there are some limits there as to which countries' banks are okay, accepted, and which aren't, and that's something you can discuss with your facilitator. Or another person, which can be a facilitator or an investor, has the money available for you, will cover you for that whole year and make sure that that money is also there for the whole year. So for 2020, this is €15,000, but the amount changes every year with inflation, of course. And you may be wondering, wow, it's a lot of money. Why do I need to have so much money up front? It's because the idea is that you only focus on your business for a whole year. You cannot be working a different job on the side. Setting up your business is gonna not just be a full-time job, it's probably gonna be even more than that. And so there really shouldn't be any distractions for you, and there shouldn't be anything in the way either for you to be able to focus on only your business. Step 2, innovative. This is a bit of a tricky one. I would recommend looking at the website of the RVO, or the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. As you can see, they're the same thing, because they judge your business plan for being innovative enough, and they have a bunch of examples there of what an innovative business is. But they give you 3 kind of requirements or possibilities that it can have in order to be qualified as innovative. So either the product or service is new to the Netherlands, it's just not here. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be the Netherlands, it can also be a specific region in the Netherlands. Or it involves new technology for production, distribution, or marketing. So it can be that it's a product that's already here or a service that's already here, but you're producing it in a new way, maybe in a way more eco-friendly way or something, or with very new material. Or thirdly, it involves an innovative organizational procedure and method. So maybe you're doing something that's been done before, but your organizational structure is so completely out there and different and great that it's still great to have this in the Netherlands. So kind of the summary, the idea of this innovative requirement is that you make sure that you really add something to the Dutch economy, to the Dutch ecosystem. So this one is obviously pretty straightforward. Of course, when you start a business, you need a good business plan. And the things that both facilitators and the RVO are looking for when they're talking about a good business plan is that it needs to have all the information about your organization, who is involved. If it's not just you, maybe you're starting your business together with a business partner or a friend, who are involved and who is doing what exactly, and what is the legal form of your company. There's several legal forms that your company can take in the Netherlands. We'll look very briefly at it later. But also, what is the purpose of your company? What are the goals that you want to achieve? And of course, you need to have a good description of the proposed innovative product or service or organization. And finally, it's falling away a bit, but what's really important is that you have a description of the planning and the activities over the whole year. So where do you plan to be after 3 months? And where do you want to be at the end of the year? Because all of this together, of course, your business isn't just one concept that's like a great concept. It also needs to have a whole structure behind it and a whole idea of how you're going to make that concept a success. And finally, you need a facilitator because you apply together with a facilitator to get your startup visa. Because the whole year, your facilitator is basically your coach, your mentor in making your startup a success. They bring you in touch with investors and they help you to get in touch with anybody who might have to do your administration or help you how to do your administration yourself. So it's not just an obligatory thing, it's also really convenient. It's great for you to have a facilitator. And not just anyone can become one. These are recognized by the RVO, and they can only become recognized when they have a track record and a coaching program to help startups make their startup a success, to grow into maybe a bigger company. Now, it's good to realize that there's lots of different types of facilitators, and they all offer very different programs. Some facilitators really only give you a coaching program, and so they don't ask you for money, but there's also facilitators that ask you for a lot of money, but then who arrange a lot for you in return as well. Maybe they have an office space for you or a lab space if that's something that you need. And maybe they arrange for you that your taxes are done by somebody. So it's good to see exactly what these different facilitators offer and to really think about what it is that you need from a facilitator. And thankfully, Right here in the Northern Netherlands, we have a really strong ecosystem, not just of startups, but also of different facilitators and incubators, so organizations that help you start up, and accelerators, which, as the name kind of suggests, they help you accelerate your business. So once you've started growing, they help you really speed up the growth of your company. And there's lots of options for funding and investment, which your facilitators then bring you in touch with. What's a fantastic thing that we have right here in Groningen and in the Northern Netherlands is called the Startup Visa Groningen organization program. You can find them via startupvisa.nl. I'm saying them, us, because IWCN is one of the organizations that helps basically put out a red carpet for startups in the Northern Netherlands. So we help people on the information side. What I mentioned earlier, we can help people with their health insurance and how to find a house and how to figure out a mortgage or whatever. So we can bring people in touch with everything that's on the living side, so that is not at all a worry in the first year that you really want to focus on your startup. But through Startup Visa Groningen, you can also get in touch with all the different facilitators that there are in the Northern Netherlands. And the program helps you to do your application and to find out all the nitty-gritty behind everything that you need to do in order to submit your application. And there's an FAQ. And basically, it's a really good starting point for you to go to. A great question to ask is, what happens after my startup year? Because what if my startup has been doing amazingly, but if I would have to leave after a year, what's the point of starting my startup here? It's a great question. And thankfully, it has a really good answer as well, because after your startup year, you can apply for the self-employed permit to stay in the Netherlands and to keep working on your business. Now, you may be asking, why don't I just apply for the self-employed permit right away? The reason for that is that it's kind of hard to get. You need to have been running a business for 1 or more years already. You need to have proof that your business will generate income. And there's this whole point system behind it that makes it it just makes it rather tricky to get this permit. But thankfully, if you have done the startup permit and nothing iffy has been happening during the year, there's no illegal stuff, your facilitator's recommendation will basically lead to you getting the self-employed permit afterwards. So that's a great way to go about it. What's an even better way to go about it is to do this thing in 3 steps, basically. My colleague Tom can tell you everything about the orientation year permit, which you can get within 3 years after graduating. What's really smart is to start on the orientation year permit and use that year to really figure out your business plan and to find the best possible facilitator for you and your business. And then during that year to apply for the startup permit. Then, of course, you have the year in which you make your startup an amazing success. And then after that startup year, you apply for the self-employed permit to stay in the Netherlands. And the first self-employed permit takes 2 years, and after that you can renew it to be 5 years, and again every 5 years. So that's a great 3-step way to go about this, which will, I would say it's basically the most, it's the best way to go about it because it gives you the most time to really prepare and to really make sure that your business ends up in the best ecosystem and that you also end up working in the environment that you will like the best. Of course, right now we're living in a time that's a little bit different from usual, so I thought it would be good to mention really quickly what's happening with this permit in this time of Corona when people can't really go in or out of the country. So thankfully for a lot of people that are on the startup permit that are who can't further develop their business right now because maybe they had investors that were going to put a lot of money into their business and now they won't because of the uncertain times. Thankfully, there's a lot of government support, and there are, in fact, investors who are giving bridging loans, etc., to people who are currently on their startup permit. So there's actually quite a lot of support, like a good support netting for the people who are in trouble right now. So maybe that gives you a good idea of the way that the Netherlands takes care of its international startups. For you as somebody who's maybe interested in applying for the startup visa, you can still send in your application. If you're in the Netherlands, it will also be processed. But if you're outside of the Netherlands right now, when you cannot travel in or out, that doesn't happen. If you want to know more about the latest news around the way that the corona affects the startup permits, this is a link that's really good to follow. TechLeap is basically the overarching organization that helps out startups in the Netherlands. And they have written a startup guide for this situation, and there's a lot more information on their website. That's also great to check out. We've basically come to the end of the presentation, but I wanted to kind of leave you with a few helpful links if you were like, I want to read a lot more about this before I really start thinking of a startup idea, then these links will help you along the way. For instance, you can think about a legal structure. Maybe you're starting your business by yourself, or maybe you're doing it together with a business partner or a group of friends. This is a great link to follow that gives you information about the different legal structures that there are. Then eventually you will be registering your company with the Netherlands Chamber of Commerce. This is really something that you'll probably be doing together with your startup facilitator, as in they'll help you figure it out. But before you can register at the Chamber of Commerce, you need to have chosen your legal structure. And but it's good to have this link. Their website, just like business.gov.nl, all in English. It's fantastic. And finally, RVO, we've mentioned them before, the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. They have all the information about what it is to have an innovative company, for instance. Their website is also fully in English, so that's also great to check out. I realize this was a lot of information and it can be kind of overwhelming, and maybe you have questions and you don't really know where to turn. Basically, we are a great start point for questions that you have after you've done a bunch of reading about the different permits, about the startup visa, or about any other types of permit. You can reach us via phone and via email. Obviously, you cannot come and visit us right now during the corona crisis, but we have a live chat. It's really fantastic. So you can reach us via IWCN.nl. There's a live chat at the bottom right that you can click on, and there will always be a person behind this on weekdays, Monday to Friday, between like 10 and 4:30. And if it's not that time right now that you're watching this and you have questions, you can just email us and we'll always get back to you. So I just want to say thank you very much for your attention. I'm really glad that you're interested in the different ways in which you can stay in the Northern Netherlands. We want internationals to stay here. We're really excited to have such an international region right here, and it's fantastic that you're considering to be part of that. And if there's anything that we can do as the Welcome Center to help you really feel at home here, please let us know. Here's all the ways in which you can reach us. Thank you again, and have a great day.